Ask Reddit, what's something that mentally and/or emotionally broke you? My fiance died the day after we got engaged. She died of meningitis. We spent an awesome day together while she was back in town from college, and I asked her that afternoon. Later, she said her legs were going numb and her back hurt. We went to the hospital because they had just had a whole presentation about the symptoms of meningitis at her school. The doctor did some tests and said everything was negative L, so they sent us home. We went to bed thinking everything would be fine. I woke up sometime around 2 a.m. and looked at her. She was covered in sweat and turning blue, so I picked her up and carried her to the car. We hauled us back to the ER, but she stopped breathing before we got there and didn't regain consciousness again. At least I was holding her hand the whole way. The doctor did say they got her heart started a couple times, but all of her organs failed and her body completely shut down, so they had to call it. Later, they asked if I wanted the ring. But they said they had to cut it off because her body had swollen so much. I told them to keep it because I wouldn't have been able to handle what it meant if it was in one piece. To answer the other obvious question, I'm as alright as I get. Lately, I've been thinking about our first days more than the last one. It's hard to tell if that makes it better or worse though. Relationships are hard. Anytime things get too good, there's a compulsion to pull away for self-preservation. There's no making it through of another round of that. Thank you all again for your kind words and thoughts and jokes. Pay attention to how you feel and listen if someone tells you something is wrong with them. Finally, tell the people that matter to you how you feel as often as you can. Filing my dad's bankruptcy, getting him diagnosed for early onset Alzheimer's/dementia, and being his primary caregiver. It completely reverses the father/son role in a way I was not prepared for. Better now, but still is heartbreaking. My house caught fire when I was sleeping and I saw my baby's crib go up in flames. He survived, but it fucked me up hard. Edit, this comment blew up. The fire was a freak accident started by a damaged electrical cord on a humidifier. My boy is 7 now, and other than his scarring, is a happy, healthy, and awesome little dude. If you're feeling brave, here's a picture of his crib the next day. Lastly, we survived thanks to a working smoke alarm. Check yours today. It could save a life. My little cousin, 19, hung himself in October. That feeling of holding his cold body as I cut him down from his noose will forever haunt me. I dream of it often. Finding my twin brother dead. Hearing my mom ask if it was going to hurt to die. Few minutes later, she took her last breath. Squeezed my hand and a slow release. Am I okay? Nah. A year and a half later, I'm still not. When the police told me my fiancé had been killed by a drunk driver immediately outside of our neighborhood. It didn't help that the police lost the driver in the hospital, letting him escape for about 30 hours. Edit, I was fortunate to have a great network of friends and family to support me. Part of what really helped me was giving up on the idea of justice or that things can be made right. That helped me sever the tie to the accident, acknowledge my fiancée, and remember her for her life and not her death. Additionally, my parents and I established a scholarship in my fiancé's honor for students like her, young women in STEM fields. That helped me keep her memory alive and salvage some of the goodness in the world we lost when she was taken from us. Just went through a divorce. One day I'm up, the next I'm down. Today I'm pretty down. Edit, the amount of replies and kind words and encouragement and advice I have received is overwhelmingly wonderful. Thank you all you so much, and I hope this thread has helped others going through something similar. May you all find joy in your lives. Sometimes you get shown the light in the strangest of places if you look at it right. Having a mother with schizophrenia. Such a tough illness for someone to experience, and tough on a family. Seeing someone whom you had complete faith in just switch on you and actively try to hurt you. After I found out my ex had been lying/cheating, she acted like she didn't know who I was, avoided all contact, and lied to the other dude about our relationship to make herself seem innocent. The feeling of being able to trust them with anything, and just moments later, they completely shatter that trust. Betrayal really hurts for a long time, but as time moves forward you realize how much better it is to have weeded that person out of your life, now surrounded by better friends/company, with new knowledge to know what behavior to watch out for in the future. Like most things in life, time makes it a bit easier to come to terms with. I was trafficked. Took me a long time to be back to kind of normal. An older boyfriend who turned out to not be a boyfriend but coerced me into prostitution via websites and agencies and brothels. Over about 6 months he isolated me from family and friends, made me ashamed to go to anyone for help, made me afraid of what would happen if I did. He knew my mother's address. Different country. He made sure I knew he'd cled others for trying to leave him. He made sure to work me where it's legal, because nobody would expect me to be there under duress, and I was told to tell everyone I wanted to do it. I got away in 2012, he tried to KLL me because I was too old for him, but someone called the police. I never got justice because his lawyer said it's legal, she wanted to do it, she's just bitter that he wanted a younger woman. And everyone believed that. My 5-year-old got diagnosed with brain cancer. Edited to add he's 14 now and doing well. When I was 13 and told my family that I'd been our word by a grown man that had taken me and 2 other underage friends of mine to a motel to roofie us. My grandmother scowled at me with disgust as I sat there with my tail between my legs, feeling more shame than I'd ever felt. She told me I needed to learn how to keep my legs closed. I got a huge talking to from the adults and was punished and slut-shamed. I'm 31 now, and the thought of this still gives me a pain in my chest. 10 years ago, I was falsely arrested for a DUI. I was acquitted, but I lost everything in the processes. It wasn't just the arrest, it was the whole system and procedures along the way that broke me. I had always defended cops and the judicial system, but you would never know unless you were pulled through it. First, after the arrest, I was fired. I was a bar manager for a huge HOA near Yosemite. I guess they thought of me as a liability, but when I asked why I was fired they said, "We don't have to give you a reason." But I later found out that was the reason. Then I just watched my house foreclosed, my car stolen and destroyed, and everything else, storage auction, went away. By the time I was arraigned it was all gone. I watched how the DA kept extending and prolonging the trial, saying he was still investigating, while my court-appointed lawyer kept getting me to PLE bargain. I had to show court every time, so all they were trying to do is get me to not show. Nobody cared if I was innocent, they just want their conviction % to stay high. Anyway, I was found not guilty in 10 minutes by a jury. It took 5 years of my life and no lawyer would call back when I wanted to sue. Cops are untouchable. I'm a whole different person since this occurred. I hate going anywhere. I don't trust anyone. I hate cops and courts, and I don't trust them keeping us safe anymore. It's just a business, that's all. Cops pull in the sales and courts make sure pay. Parasailing accident. Boat pulling us lost all electricity after a larger boat passed and it crashed hard over the wake. I was 800 foot in the air, attached to a steel contraption with my 2 kids on either side of me, with a mass of ropes above us leading to the parachute/sail. It created enough drag that the impact wasn't as horrific as it could have been, but plummeting hundreds of feet through the air into the ocean and then realizing the metal contraption is pulling you and your kids under. My son couldn't get on his back, so his life vest wasn't working properly. My daughter was screaming because her arm was tangled in the rope. My son was 7, she was 9. Coast Guard was called in for rescue. It was in 2020. I will never be the same person. I have flashbacks every day. Edit to add, my kids survived. Sorry if that was unclear. The depth of just how terribly my mother has handled the situation with my oldest brother. At 17, I realized he was grooming me. I told on him and it was swept under the rug. I was made to suffer in silence while he was allowed to be hostile to me as long as it was passively aggressive. I was not allowed to talk about what had happened, reporting him wasn't even an offer extended to me, and I never went to therapy for it while I lived at home. I found out later, after I moved out, that a different sister of mine had been groomed as well. It started when she was roughly 8 years old and had continued into her teen years. My mother discovered it when I came forward about how he was grooming me. My mother made my sister keep it a secret from me and, thus, made me think it was an isolated incident. 2.5 weeks ago, my youngest sister told me she had been molested by that very same brother. I determined that based on the timeline she gave me, this had been happening around the same time I told our mother he had been grooming me. Which meant that my mother, even after knowing what he had been doing to 2 of her daughters already, did not act to protect my youngest sister from him. Or, rather, she did because she kicked him out after he was found to be trying to peep on her at night. But she never dug deep enough into the situation to realize he had been doing more than peeping during the time she hadn't realized he was doing things. Each of these 3 instances has fucking broke me emotionally. And this last time, it broke me really hard. Because as I drunkenly cried to my college best friend, I had thought the nightmare was finally over, and instead I realized it had never ended. And if left in the hands of my mother, it never would. We'd keep finding out stuff like this, over and over, until someone with moral integrity made it end. The wound would keep opening, for me, each time I thought about how someone else had gone through what I did or worse. And, honestly, I think this 3rd time broke things beyond repair. I reported my brother to CPS for what he has done, and told everyone who already knew about the situation that I had done so. The result is, pretty much none of my family that I wasn't already estranged from will talk to me. I knew that was going to be the result. It was part of what had kept me from reporting over my own abuse, and yet, this time, I did not care. Because realizing that the nightmare won't end if it keeps getting swept under the rug made me realize that I have to make it end regardless of the personal cost to me. Otherwise, we run the risk of children we don't even know having their own personal hell inflicted on them by my brother. In my eyes, we had a moral duty to make sure my brother couldn't hurt anyone else, and I was the only one strong enough to both see and act on it. I don't regret the choice I made. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. But, hell, did I have to break to make that choice, and have I broken more since actually doing it? I was going through the beginnings of a divorce unbeknownst to me. It was March 2020, and my birthday just happened to be on the day they announced the initial COVID lockdown. I got home late from work, and my wife at the time had done nothing for my birthday. I was in my 30s, didn't really celebrate anymore anyway. But no card, no gift, not even a mention of my birthday, and she'd eaten the last of my post-work meals. And of course everything is shut down and closed early, so I go off trying to find a gas station for a protein bar. I'm not really that put out, it's par for the course. But I wake up early the next morning to take care of our 6-year-old. He's autistic and emotional connection isn't always the highest on his priority list. But I'm in his room at 5 in the morning and he says, "Daddy, it was your birthday yesterday. How come you didn't get any presents?" I made something up and he asks, "Will you get any today?" I say, "Probably not, pal, but it's okay. Grown-ups don't really celebrate birthdays like kids do." He goes into his closet, gets all his construction paper, and starts taping it together. Then he starts wrapping up his own toys and arranges them in a pile of presents. He says, "This is for you, Daddy." And he and I opened up presents for my birthday. I don't remember a lot of my birthdays, but I remember this one. Thank you for watching. Please stay safe out there and remember to stay hydrated, friend.